Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and there are more class tuning adjustments coming in on July 31st for patch 12.1, which has been officially announced now. I believe around August 11th is when it's going to be coming out, and this is when they are doing some really big changes to how the flow of the game is supposed to be, whether it's PvE or PvP. So I'm very curious to see what this round of tuning is going to be, given how close we are now to the release date, and if it's going to be able to enable them to succeed in their goals and aims. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. So for Death Knights, first up on the chopping block, we've got Blood Death Knights. For Sand Lane, they are stating that they've been overperforming in AoE and low target cleave, so they are pulling back some of the damage that it gains from Blood Beast and Frenzied Bloodthirst. And they did just recently buff these abilities by a significant amount. So for Blood is Life now accumulates 15% of the damage dealt from Blood Beast down from 25, and Frenzied Bloodthirst's Death Strike and Death Cool damage bonus reduced to 5% per stack down from 6, and your Visceral Strength is now going down to 10 from 12. And Death Knight was starting to become the meta. So in this PTR cycle, you don't really want to be the meta spec, at least especially for Mythic Plus. PvP, it's probably still going to be a lot more tuning. But for Mythic Plus in this area of time, being like really strong, it's kind of a dangerous thing. You're probably going to end up not being very good when it actually comes to like competitive time, you know, where you're playing for titles. For Unholy Death Knights, they are stating that their area effect damage is higher than intended. So we are reducing several of its damage over time effects while increasing its personal melee damage and its tier set. So auto attacks are going up 100%, but Virulent Plague is going down 10%. Your Apex Talent Graveyard damage is going down 15%. Epidemic is going down 12%. And your set bonus damage to Necrotic and Withering Grasp is being increased by 25%. Honestly, in PvP, I think it's going to come across more as a buff, considering most of the time your diseases are dispelled, especially by Holy Paladins. But, you know, auto attack is maybe not that huge of a deal, to be honest. But this is obviously just a strictly PvE nerf. There are PvP changes down below. We'll have to see what is done there as far as compensation. For Devourer Demon Hunters, they state that Devourer's low target cleave is a little higher than intended, so we're making adjustments to bring it closer in line with expectations. Eradicates secondary target damage is being reduced by 15%. And for Annihilator, Final Hour now causes Voidfall bonuses to persist for 6 seconds, down from 8. So this is mostly strictly Mythic Plus tuning so far. For Havoc is a little further behind in damage than our target, so they're buffing all of its damage pretty much. Blade Dance by 6%, Death Sweep by 6%, Chaos Strike, Annihilation, and the Hunt by 12 at that point. Essence Break, initial damage increased by 10%, and secondary damage increased by 30%. So Havoc getting some very serious buffs here. It was already looking very strong. Moonkins, oh no guys, they're coming after us. They're reducing basically all of their damage. There's a lot of really dot-focused raid encounters, so this was inevitable, I think. So they're nerfing Moonfire and Sunfire by 5%, Shooting Stars by 10%, Star Surge by 3%, Starfall by 3%, and your Meteorites by 15%. For Guardian Druid, it's an 8% damage buff across the board, trying to get you in line probably with what I would imagine is Blood Decay and Prop Paladin takeover in Mythic Plus. So we'll see if Boomkin's compensated for this in PvP or not. For Devastation, due to an unintended interaction with the Scintillation talent, the Venomous Abyss 2-piece bonus was providing significantly more power than intended. Based on a combination with PTR testing, data, and fixing the interaction, we're increasing some of Devastation's baseline abilities to compensate with this. So Shattering Star that are released from Eternity Surge due to Scintillation are now subject to Scintillation's 40% effective multiplier. 2-set bonus, Shattering Star damage bonus reduced to 50% from 150. Deep Breath, though, is getting a 30% damage increase. Pyre is getting a 10%. Disintegrate is getting a 40% buff, and Living Flame is getting a 50% buff. I'm going to have to test Disintegrate, bro, because that seems like a very big number, at least in PvP. And it seems like they're just shifting your damage around to try and even out that, so you're just basically in the same spot in PvE. For BM Hunter, Cobra Shot taking some shots here. What is that? 20% on that. In PvP, this ability is not very good, so surprised there's no PvP mod there on that one. For Marksmanship Hunter, Marksmanship received several bug fixes that increased its damage. So we're making some tuning adjustments to align their DPS. And I saw a lot of people testing this in PvP. It was doing a lot. So just 5% across the board. Additionally, Explosive Shot is going to do 33% less. For Arcane Mage, Arcane is doing well in AoE, but their single target is a bit behind. So they're making adjustments. They're buffing Arcane Blast by 20%. I feel like Arcane Blast might be dangerously getting close to the spot where you can spam it in PvP again, like old school Arcane, possibly. Spellslinger, so the orb damage bonus increased to 50% from 10. Wait, what? Splintering Orb. Is this not just a bonus orb, so you're going to do 40% more damage? Was that meant to be less damage? Fixed an issue that prevented meteorites from granting clear casting. Because I would have thought they want to lower the AoE and buff the single target. I wonder if that's a typo. For Fire Mage, just 6% damage across the board. The 3% guy got a promotion this time. They doubled his output. Hopefully they doubled his pay. For Frost Mage, the Venomous Abyss set bonus is providing more throughput than intended. So what are you going to do? 2-set bonus, Glacial Spike damage reduced to 20% for 25. Chance to generate an Icicle per freezing stack. Shatter reduced to 4% for 5. And the 4-set bonus, Shatter damage bonus reduced to 5 from 10. Splitting Ice has been updated. Flurry and Frostbolt effectiveness against the secondary target has been reduced to 50 from 80. Fractured Frost has been updated. Ice Lance effectiveness against the secondary target reduced to 50 from 100. Oh my god. And then all damage getting buffed by 3% to compensate. So cleave damage in PvP is not really a big deal. So it's in PvP that's probably going to be more felt like a buff. But this seems like a lot of cleave AoE damage nerfs for Mythic Plus and retuning for that, and possibly the initial raid encounters. Holy Paladin is just getting a 5% healing buff, and Holy Priest is also getting a 5% healing buff. For Shadow Priest, oh no, what's going to happen to you guys? Shadow's performance is in spread cleave is a little higher than what we expect. We are making some targeted adjustments to bring them closer to our target. We expect Shadow to continue to excel in spread cleave situations after this, though. Void Volley got a 10% nerf. Your 4-set bonus causes Tentacle Slam to grant a free use of Void Volley at 100% effectiveness down from 125, so a double dip nerf there. And for Archon, Focused Outburst now increases Void Volley damage but only by 5% down from 15, so a lot of Void Volley targeting here, especially if you're Archon. Assassination Rogue's got a 10% damage increase across the board. Outlaw got a 6%, but not in PvP, which is very surprising, because I don't feel like Outlaw's damage was like crazy in PvP. I wonder if, like, this is the patch that BlizzCon's going to be on, so I wonder if they're trying to, like, make it so Rogue Mage isn't like the best thing in running the whole show by not doing that, or is Assassination has some pretty big drawbacks that, you know, if it appeared in BlizzCon, it probably would have more answers, because the same thing's happening with Subtlety, 10% damage increase, but not in PvP. So they are considering PvP for these changes. It isn't just like, you know, oh, whatever, you know. So interesting to see this. For Elemental, for Farseer, received a lot of changes to boost the performance of spells cast by the summoned ancestors, but now they're performing higher than they would like. So Ancestor Lava Burst damage is coming down by 20%. Chain Lightning damage is coming down by 20% from the ancestors. For Warlock, we are increasing the single target damage of each Warlock spec and reducing Destra's cleave profile. So a lot of just AoE nerfs. Haunt increases your damage dealt to the target by 16%, up from 12. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Demonology is getting 45% more on Shadow Bolt, 55% more on Demon Bolt, which is nice. I mean, these might be still too small, but it's the right direction. Summon Gloomhound, damage increased by 35%. Fix the tooltip where the Venomous 4-set bonus state would cast Implosion at 125% effectiveness and 150% rather than the 200. Okay, so you're getting buffs there just across the board, just Warlock buffs. For Destro, though, Havoc now causes 50% of their damage in cleave. Soulfire, though, is getting a 45% damage buff. Chaos Bolt is also getting a 5% damage buff. So it's going to do 10% less on the 2-target situations, but like single target, my god, okay. Warlock's got some juice here. I think maybe a BlizzCon Warlock patch. We're slightly reducing Arms Warrior single target damage and cleave damage and adjusting its set bonus so the current tier set is more rewarding than mixing older pieces. Powerful Momentum now increases Sweeping Strikes chain damage by 20% down from 25. Execute damage was nerfed by 15%. Midnight 1 Season 2 set bonus is getting nerfed, so you don't want it. The 4-set bonus for the next season, Mortal Strike and Overpower now increase the damage of your next slam by 20% up from 10, and it stacks 5 times. Bro, that sounds like Taste for Blood stacks. What? 100% slam damage increase? This is also the patch where you're going to be able to wear your set bonuses now, guys, because you can actually change the stats on them to the stats that you want. And then Prot Warrior also got a damage increase. So a lot of tank rebalancing. I really like that. Some healer rebalancing as well. Events and ritual sites. Okay, PvP. So it looks like they're changing the trinket set bonus. It's going to give us 15% primary stat up from 12. And the stamina is going to be going down for healers. They're losing 5% stamina on healers. DPS. So DPS are getting 3% more main stat. Healers are getting 5% less stamina, it looks like. And they did note with one of the more recent changes that healers were overperforming in PvP, so they're bringing them down a bit. For Devourer, with the results of the buffs to consume and overall damage, Consume no longer needs such a large increase in PvP combat. We're reducing it, and now matches the damage of Devourer in PvP combat. So Consume damage reduced by 40% PvP, Devour damage reduced by 8. I feel like Devour kind of hits hard, but Consume doesn't really hit that hard. Interesting. For Resto Druid, they're nerfing all their healing by 10%. I think that's probably one of the fair considering everything that it's getting. It's just trying to keep them in line. For Mistweaver, Vital Expenditure now increases Soothing Mist Healing only by 100%, down from 300, and increases its mana cost, although only by 33, down from 200. I don't know how big of a deal that is. If you're a Mistweaver main, it sounds like it could be a huge deal. For Holy Paladin, they're nerfing all your healing. I think this is kind of inevitable with all the buffs you're getting for PvE. I mean, you literally just got a 5% up buff up above, and I think healer balance is like one of the most important things. So for Templar Prot Paladin, Divine Annexation causes Divine Toll to strike at 45% of Prot Paladins. They're still nerfing Prot Paladin. This is like that 8th round of nerfs, and it's still kicking. Ret Paladin, Eternal Flame. Oh, and they're nerfing your healing on Ret, but they're not buffing your damage. Very interesting. I think Warlocks might be taking over. For Void Weaver, Quickened Pulse causes Entropic Rift and Shadow Pain to deal damage 15% more often in PvP, down from 25. And Void Weaver Expiation deals damage equal to 150%, so nerfs towards Void Weaver Disc. For Subtlety, they're nerfing Gormaw's Bite repeated damage by 10%. And for Colossus Armswear, the Dominance of the Colossus reduces damage taken from enemies affected by Demolish up to 10% in PvP. So this is very interesting because I feel that it hasn't been like a lot of public testing, so it's actually really tough for me to even hone in on how significant all of this is going to be. I'm gonna have to dedicate a day where we just come on stream and we just like make characters and try to queue up maybe against the bots or queue up against something just to see what's going on, because these are some major changes. I would say this round of changes is benefiting Warlocks a lot, and they're bringing healers down in PvP. And then just a lot of just Mythic Plus kind of AoE team. I guess Demon Hunter is coming up as well. Demon Hunter looks very strong. I would have to guess, based on what is currently applied, moving into the next patch. But that's it for this round of updates. Thank you guys very much for tuning into the video as always, and I will see you in the next one.